Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, 9th Canto, Chapter 21, 19 and 20, and we'll also do 21. But you have 19 to 20 on the board. Gargachanistato Gargya Shatrad Brahma Yavartata Duritakshayo Mahaviryat Tasya Trayaruni Kavi Pushkaranuhya Ityatra Ye Brahmana Gatim Gata Brihat Shatrasya Putro Bud Dastiya Dastinapuram Gargachanistato Gargya Shatrad Brahma Yavartata Duritakshayo Mahavirya Tasya Trayaruni Kavi Pushkararunya Ityatra Ye Brahmana Gatim Gata Brihat Shatrasya Putro Bud Dastiya Dastinapuram
Gargachanistato Gargya Shatrat Brahma Yavartata Duritakshayo Mahavirya Tasya Trayaruni Kavi Pushkararuni Ityatra Ye Brahmana Gatim Gata Brihat Kshatrasya Putra Bud Dastiya Dastinapuram
Gargachanistato Gargya Shatrad Brahma Yavartata Duritakshayo Mahavirya Tasya Trayarunekave Pushkaranu Aruniriti Atra Brahmana Gatim Gata Takshatrasya Putro Abhud
Vaishnavis.
Gargachanistato Gargya Shatrad Brahma Yavartata Duritakshayo Mahavirya Tasya Trayaruni Kavi Pushkaranuhya Atra Ye Brahmana Gatim Gata Kshatrasya Putro Bhud Dastiya Dastinapuram.
Translation. From Garga came a son named Shini, and his son was Gargya. Although Gargya was a Kshatriya, there came from him a generation of Brahmanas. From Mahavirya came a son named Duritakshaya, whose sons were Trayaruni, Kavi, and Pushkararuni. Although these sons of Duritaksaya took birth in a dynasty of Kshatriyas, they too attained the position of Brahmanas. Brihatshaksha had a son named Hasti, who established the city of Hastinapur, now New Delhi. Text 21. Ajamido dimudascha pudumidascha hastinaha Ajamidasya vamsyashu priya medha dayo dvijaha. From King Hasti came 3 sons named Ajamidha, Dvimidha, and Pudumidha. The descendants of Ajamidha, headed by Priyamedha, all achieved the position of Brahmanas. Purport. This verse gives evidence confirming the statement of Bhagavad Gita that the orders of society, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Sudra, are calculated in terms of qualities and activities. Guna karma vibhagashaha. All the descendants of Ajamidha, who was a Kshatriya, became Brahmanas. This was certainly because of their qualities and activities. Similarly, sometimes the sons of Brahmanas or Kshatriyas become Vaishyas. Brahmana Vaishyatam Gataha. When a Kshatriya or Brahmana adopts the occupation or duty of a Vaishya, Krishi Gorakshabani Jam, he is certainly counted as a Vaishya. On the other hand, if one is born a Vaishya, by his activities, he can become a Brahmana. This is confirmed by Narada Muni. Yasya ya lakshanam proktam. The members of the Varnas, or social orders, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra, must be ascertained by their symptoms, not by birth. Birth is immaterial. Quality is essential. Om Agana Chimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Militang Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gladha Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. What Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Guna Karma Vibhagasha, that the 4 occupational divisions of life are decided by one's quality and activities, not by birth. That is reconfirmed by Narada Muni speaking in the 7th canto to Yudhisthira Maharaj. Narada Muni says, Yasya ya lakshanam proktam. You're classified in your varna, your occupational order, according to your activities and qualities. This is very important for knowing how to structure a real human society. Today you have not division according to qualities and activities. You have everything based on money. That's one of the symptoms of Kali Yuga, that you judge someone by their money. If you have money, no matter what you do, it's all right. And in this way, human society has lost focus on what is the real goal of life, because they don't know how to judge themselves in a proper way. In real human culture, Vedic culture, everything is structured, everything is delineated. People don't like that these days. They want everything to be chaotic, everything just based on money, 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 property investments, income. That's all. What's the purpose of education? Not to develop in you higher qualities. The purpose of education is what? To make money. Everything is money. As we were saying a couple of weeks ago, no question of dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. Everything is artha and kama. That's it. Economic development and sense gratification, nothing else. No religious principles, and certainly no liberation. Who's concerned about liberation? Who's concerned about religious principles? The only concern about religious principles are when they bring about economic prosperity. If you can't see that connection, forget Dharma. Dharma must be connected to prosperity, economic prosperity. Otherwise, it's useless. So many people have decided we have economic prosperity for the moment, but so what do we need Dharma for? Just cut to the chase, cut to the conclusion. Economic development is everything. It facilitates sense gratification. So what if the sense gratification doesn't fulfill you? That's your problem. Someone must be satisfied by sense gratification. Maybe not you, but someone else. So in this way, everything becomes hellish. In a real human society, Vedic culture, everything is so delineated, everything is so structured, that even your greeting of someone would depend on their occupational status. Just like in Ram Leela, Vishwamrita Muni is actually born in a Kshatriya line, but his qualities were of a Brahmana. So he was respected as that. Therefore, when he wanted the sons of Dasarath Maharaj to slay some demons, Vishwamrita Muni approached Dasarath Maharaj, the king, and what was Dasarath Maharaj's greeting to him? Very scientific. He's talking to a Brahmana, he knows. Therefore he asks, how are you progressing in your efforts to conquer repeated birth and death? So the Brahmana is supposed to cultivate wisdom so that the real disease can be conquered. And what is the real disease? Materialism, manifest as repeated birth and death, birth, death, disease, and old age. So recognizing that Vishwamrita Muni is a Brahmana, even though he's born in a Kshatriya line, Dasarath Maharaj asked him, how is your progress in conquering over repeated birth and death? That's the greeting for a real Brahmana. Then in the 6th canto, you read when Angira Rishi went to see Chitraketu, knowing that Chitraketu is having a huge problem. He asked Chitraketu, are all the 7 elements in order? Number 1, the Mahatattva, the total material nature. Number 2, the ego, ahankara, your false ego. And then the 5 objects of sense gratification. Are all these 7 in order? Of course, material existence will never be completely in order. There'll always be problems, dysfunctions, but still Angira Rishi, the Brahmana, is speaking to the king, because it's the king's responsibility to make things in order as much as possible in the material world. So Angira Rishi would not address a Brahmana in that way, but he's talking to the king. The king is supposed to establish law and order and reduce the chaos and solve all problems in the kingdom. So Angira Rishi continues that I'm not simply speaking about you, but I'm speaking about your entourage, your associates, your citizens, your ministers, your sons, your wives. Are they all okay? And Angira Rishi further elaborates. Are they under control? He wouldn't say that to a Brahmana. Are your wives under control? Are your sons under control? Are your citizens under control? This is how you talk to a Kshatriya. Because the Kshatriya's responsibility is law and order and to keep the criminal elements from causing a disturbance. And so, therefore, Angira Rishi is asking, he's greeting the king in that way. And then finally he says, most importantly, is your mind under control? Because if your mind is under control, then you can properly benefit the citizens, the ministers, your family, your wives, your sons. Now Angirarishi could just look at Chitraketu and understand, your mind's not peaceful. He can look at the face of Chitraketu and understand there's some problem. So then he says to Chitraketu, looking at your face, you seem to have not attained your goal. Looking at your face, I see that there's some big problem. And then, of course, Chitraketu bows down low and presents his problem that he has no son despite all his efforts. So this is how elaborately specific a real human society is. It seems far beyond us these days. But that's the way a real human civilization is. So in this purport, Srila Prabhupada is emphasizing what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, what Narada Muni says in the 7th canto, that you are judged in terms of occupation according to your activities that you're displaying and your qualities. In order for there to be any hope for the world, everyone's wondering, what's happening to the world? There's so much commotion, so much uncertainty, economic instability, political instability, environmental degradation. Who knows what to do? More than ever, we need real brahmanas. There's no head on the social body. Of course, the body needs more than a head. It needs arms, legs, belly. But without a head on the social body, what is the use? Therefore, a prime purpose, a prime mission of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness is to develop real brahmanas, those who have wisdom, those who can follow in the footsteps, even a little bit. Follow the footsteps of Angirarishi, who could question a king like that. Is everything peaceful in your land? Are your ministers, your treasury, your fortifications, are they all in order? And the king was very submissive in his response. So where are the brahmanas today? The whole phenomenon of Brahmana by birth has destroyed Vedic culture. Srila Prabhupada would emphasize that. Sometimes people look at India and say, what happened? Where's the glory of India? The big problem was Brahmana by birth, that concoction. Not Brahmana by qualities and activities. So we are trying to develop real brahmanas. And more than that, we're trying to develop real devotees. Let's go to Jagannath Puri, where Lord Chaitanya has already transformed Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was the greatest scholar of his time, but he was a Mayavadi, total impersonalist, in denial of the superlative nature of bhakti and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yet, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu transformed him. And Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya acknowledged the transformation and expressing his deepest gratitude. But Lord Chaitanya told him, I enacted this process of transformation of you simply because your brother-in-law, Gopinathacharya, wanted you to be a devotee. So because a devotee wanted you to be a devotee, I wanted you to be a devotee. So Lord Chaitanya is announcing his departure for South India. He has to make an excuse because his associates will never let him go. So he, for the sake of preaching, for the sake of setting off a chain reaction of bhakti throughout South India and then throughout the world, Lord Chaitanya manufactured an excuse. I have to go search for my brother Vishwarup, who has taken sannyas and left Navadvip, and he's somewhere in South India. I've got to go find him. Now, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu already knew that Vishwarup had disappeared from this world. But in order to carry out his mission, because his associates loved him so much, he knew they'll never let me go. I have to come up with an excuse. And of course, when he announced his departure for South India, everyone was trying to lovingly present obstacles. And once they understood that Mahaprabhu was going to go, then the question was, who's going to go with him? And of course, Nityananda presented himself. I know all the paths in South India. So Lord Chaitanya then had to seemingly criticize his associates, because each one was wanting to go with him. But Lord Chaitanya didn't want his intimate associates to go with him to South India, because they would always be sad when Lord Chaitanya would rigidly follow the principles of sannyas. And Lord Chaitanya wanted to do that. He wanted to rigidly display the behavior of an ideal sannyasi, which involves so much austerity, restriction. So his associates didn't like that. He's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. What does he need to follow all these austerities? But Lord Chaitanya wanted to follow the austerities. So there was always this pure loving tension in that way. I want to follow strictly, Mahaprabhu would insist. The associates, no, 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 no. We want to supply you with comforts. We want to minimize your austerities. You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So in order to carry out his program of austerities, Lord Chaitanya had to give an excuse to go to South India, and he also had to criticize his associates, apparently. Nityananda, how can you go with me? You misled me when after I took sannyas, I wanted to go to Vrindavan, and you misled me, and I wound up at the home of Advaitacharya. Not only that, what did you do? I entrusted my danda to you when we were entering Puri. I wanted to see a Shiva temple, and I gave you my danda to take care of. And then what did you do? You broke my danda and threw it in the river. Nityananda, of course, is thinking, why does the Supreme Personality of God need to carry a danda? To show his renunciation. So when Lord Chaitanya returned from the Shiva temple and asked, where's my danda? Nityananda said, during the ecstasy, I fell on your danda and it broke. So Lord Chaitanya criticized him, but actually Lord Chaitanya is expressing love. Same thing with Damodar Pandit. So many other devotees, Lord Chaitanya would point out seemingly faults, but actually he's glorifying them. But the point is, he had to create some distance because their grip on him was so strong. He wants to go to South India to liberate all the living entities there. So finally, they agree, take one person with you, because otherwise, what are you going to be doing? You're going to be chanting with one hand, and with the other hand, you're going to be counting your rounds. In this way, you can see, Prabhupada explains, Lord Chaitanya originating the system of chanting according to measurement. So how are you going to do all that? Chanting, counting your rounds, both hands are occupied. What about your water pot and an extra set of clothes? So Lord Chaitanya agreed that he would take a servant with him, Krishnadas. So he's about to leave, and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya says, since you are going, and no one can stop you, you're the independent Supreme Personality of Godhead, let me make a recommendation, a very strong recommendation. There's a person named Ramananda Roy. I used to make fun of him, thinking he was a sentimental bhakta, one of those Vaishnavas who believes in rasa and loving relationships with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which we all thought back then was material. I used to make fun of him. But now, having been enlightened by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, I realize he's the greatest devotee. He's the master of rasa science. Please, he said to Lord Chaitanya, meet him when you go to South India. I made the mistake of mistaking a topmost Vaishnava for a sentimentalist. But now that I'm immersed in bhakti, I can see who he really is. So Lord Chaitanya left. By his leaving Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, the effect was so dramatic that Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya fainted on the ground. I always ask the question, when you walk out the door to go somewhere, has anyone ever fainted on the ground? Has your spouse ever done that? But this love between Mahaprabhu and his associates is pure, devoid of any material taint. So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya collapsed on the ground. But Lord Chaitanya kept going, showing beyond what immediately looks like insensitivity is my sensitivity to delivering all the living entities starting in South India. So my mission must go on. So yes, you know, in his tour of South India, as it started, he had a program that was duplicated throughout South India. Whoever would cross his path, he would embrace. And that person would be surcharged with Krishna Prem. And that person would go back to his village and saturate his whole village with Krishna Prem. And then people from other villages would come to that village and they become saturated with Krishna Prem. Then they go back to their village and then other people would come to that village. And this way, throughout South India, Lord Chaitanya plunged the whole area in love of Krishna. Nityananda had predicted this before Lord Chaitanya, or on his way to South India. After he left Puri, he first stopped in Alalanath. How many of you have been to Alalanath? Yes. That was the first stop. And Lord Chaitanya did Harinam Sankirtan and flooded the whole town of Alalanath with love of Krishna. Everyone is chanting, dancing, shouting, Hare, 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 Hare. Nityananda looked at this situation and said, this kirtan is going to cover the whole world. Not only South India, but the whole world. Nityananda predicted. So now Lord Chaitanya is in South India and fulfilling Nityananda's prediction. Whoever crossed his path became empowered. And then that person would empower others, and those others would empower others. So now Lord Chaitanya is approaching the Godavari River. And the river reminds him of the Yamuna. Mahaprabhu is absorbed in ecstasy. When he wakes up in the morning, you see at night he takes rest either at a temple or on the side of the road. In the morning he takes bath and then goes on his way. But he doesn't know where he's going. He just goes. He's guided by the Leela Shakti, the pastime energy. He's not thinking, let me go this way, let me go that way. He just goes in various directions. So he reaches the river Godavari. And that reminds him of the Yamuna River. And he sees the forests on both sides of the Godavari, and that reminds him of Vrindavan. So he sits down to chant. And then suddenly he hears a procession coming. And there are like 1,000 brahmanas in a procession with this government official. And Lord Chaitanya, of course, he's the omniscient Supreme Personality Godhead. He thinks, this is Ramananda Roy, the one Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya asked me to meet. Lord Chaitanya's mind is running after that person, but he restrains himself. So that person, Ramananda Roy, approaches Lord Chaitanya because Lord Chaitanya is a sannyasi, and so the householder is approaching him to offer respects and obeisances. So he comes before Lord Chaitanya and falls flat, dandavats, And Lord Chaitanya says, please arise, arise. And who are you? The person presents himself, introduces himself. I am the lowest of men. I am a Shudra. My name is Ramananda Roy. Lord Chaitanya embraced him. They embraced each other, and they broke out into such ecstasy, showing the Ashtasattvika, the 8 ecstatic symptoms. What Ramananda Roy had come to the river Godavari to do was Vedic rituals. So he brought with him an entourage of like 1,000 brahmanas. He was going to do oblations for the forefathers and all kinds of punya, pious activities. Of course, he's the greatest expert in rasa. He's the greatest devotee. So now he's introduced himself to Mahaprabhu, and Mahaprabhu says, yes, I thought that was you. And they embraced and collapsed on the ground, embracing each other, breaking out in ecstatic symptoms. So what's going on here? The brahmanas in the entourage were very stiff and stodgy, ritualistic brahmanas. So they couldn't appreciate, well, what's going on here? Ramananda Roy is the governor of the area. He's a Sudra. So he's a politician, he's a Grihasta, and he's a Sudra. And this glorious sannyasi who has such an effulgence like Brahman is lost and unconscious in ecstasy by embracing a Grihasta, a Shudra, a politician. What is this? On the one hand, you have this inconceivably effulgent sannyasi, more effulgent than millions of suns, like molten gold in saffron cloth. On the other hand, you have this Ramananda Roy, who we know is a great scholar, and we know he's very sober, we know he's very grave, but look, he's on the ground manifesting such symptoms. What's happening? Lord Chaitanya noticed, these are not Vaishnavas, they don't understand bhakti rasa. So he started to restrain himself. But Ramananda Roy, once both of them calmed down, Ramananda Roy says, how is it that you have touched me, a low-class Shudra, politician, Grihasta? How can that be? You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. How can you treat me in this way? And of course, Lord Chaitanya pointed out that you are a devotee. Internally, what's going on? Who is Lord Chaitanya? Some say Krishna, but actually he's Radha, Krishna combined. Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Radha Krishna Nahayanya. So Prabhupada in the purport gives you double vision. He said it's not surprising that Krishna and Ramananda Roy, upon embracing, would fall into such ecstasy, because Lord Chaitanya is Krishna and Ramananda Roy is Vishaka, one of the one of the 8 prime gopis. So it's natural that when they would meet, they would fall into such an ecstatic embrace. But then Prabhupada goes the other way. Lord Chaitanya is Radha Krishna combined. And who is Vishaka in relation to Radha? She's one of the main associates. So this way, that way, at the deepest level, some phenomenon of the spiritual world is happening. If you take Lord Chaitanya just as Krishna, he's greeting Vishaka, one of his prime gopis. If you take Lord Chaitanya as Radha Krishna combined, then it's Radha Rani greeting one of her main associates. So Lord Chaitanya, right then and there, taught the lesson of qualities and activities. The ritualistic brahmanas were bewildered. At the same time, they were starting to become affected by the transcendental ecstasy. Ramananda Roy pointed this out to Lord Chaitanya. You must be the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because the 1,000 persons in my entourage, these strict, stodgy brahmanas, they're all now showing ecstatic symptoms and chanting, Hare, 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 Hare. You must be the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So in this way, you can see Lord Chaitanya is focusing on the bhakti. Now, we've mentioned before that you will find mention of Lord Chaitanya in mundane history. It's not that he's only present. It's not that his existence is only acknowledged in Chaitanya Charitamrita or Chaitanya Bhagavat. The British historians of that time, or who prepared history for that time, knew about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They would describe him that there was this extraordinary personality who was the greatest social reformer. He was disregarding the caste system. He was egalitarian, treating everyone equal no matter what caste they're from. He was doing great, setting off a social revolution in India. And then he went to Puri and lost the plot completely. He went to Puri and just became a madman. So he's there. Mahaprabhu is there, even in mundane history. But even today in India, so many people who know a little about Lord Chaitanya think he's a Bengali saint. So in this purport we're studying today, the point is emphasized that you are classified according to your qualities and activities. Now you may wonder, why are we reciting the names of all these kings and their descendants? The whole chapter 21 of the 9th canto is like that. Everything is personal. And these were not ordinary personalities. Sometimes they would make mistakes, but they were not ordinary personalities. And you're being prepared to understand the dynasty, the line that Krishna comes in the 10th canto. Everything is about succession, chains, parampara. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Evam parampara praptam imam rajasayo vidu. This knowledge of Bhagavad Gita is passed down through the parampara, the chain of spiritual master and disciples. And this is how the saintly kings, the Rajarshis, would understand it. So that's why Bhagavatam is always giving you these lists. So-and-so had as descendants this one and that one, the other from this person's wife came these descendants, to get you to understand the importance of succession. How one generation hands over to the next generation. And in this way, a real human society perpetuates its standards. So you may wonder, why all these names? Just like in today's verse that we chanted, you find such a long list of kings and their associates. You even learn a detail about King Hasti, who established the city of Hastinapur, now New Delhi. From this one came a son named that, and from that one came a son named that, and this one had a wife named so-and-so who gave birth to so-and-so. You're being constantly barraged with personalism in a society in which we take matter to be all important. But your line that you're born in a real human society, says a lot about your qualities. your activities. But that doesn't happen these days. Who cares who you were born from? Just make money and enjoy your senses. Of course, the ultimate standard is not who you're born from. Although in a real human society, that plays an enormous role in the character and activities of the offspring. But it's not the most important deciding factor. As you heard in the purport, that so many Kshatriyas that were mentioned here had offspring that were Brahmanas by activity and by quality. In a real human society, generally you can predict that the son of a Brahmana will be a Brahmana. But we don't have a real human society today. And also, that's not the ultimate consideration, although generally in a real human society, families would perpetuate. Brahmanas would perpetuate sons who are Brahmanas. Kshatriyas would perpetuate sons who are Kshatriyas. But it's not the ultimate consideration, birth. Especially these days, when all the paramparas of family, inheritance of family traditions, that's breaking apart. Just like so many of you, did you come to Australia to perpetuate Vedic culture? How many did? Why did you come? Money! But in spite of your coming for money, we want you to become qualified Brahmanas. That is the great need of the day. A qualified Brahmana has knowledge. It's not that someone should want to be a Brahmana just because of prestige. We need persons who know how to control their mind and senses, have wisdom and know how to apply the wisdom, honest, know how to live simply. Without that example, there'll never be any head on the social body. Of course, Mahaprabhu is beyond all that. Sometimes devotees would ask Srila Prabhupada, why do we need Varnashram Dharma? Wasn't Lord Chaitanya, didn't he just disregard all that and just flood the world with Krishna Prem, which is the fifth category? There's Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, and then fifth category, Prema, Pumarto, Mahan. Love of Krishna is the fifth category. So Lord Chaitanya was above the Purusharthas, the four, Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha. He was doing his own thing, right? He was in another dimension. So why do we need Varnashram Dharma? Why do we need to worry about that? Prabhupada replied, Lord Chaitanya is from the spiritual world, but we want to help everyone. So let us take seriously the mission to develop real Brahmanas. Those who have the qualities, those who have the activities of a Brahmana. This is what we should be focusing on. That's the purpose of the temple, is to glorify the Supreme Personality of Godhead and develop the wisdom of the devotees, the bhakti lifestyle of the devotees. If we forget that, then we get lost in so many arguments. But where are the Brahmana qualities? All right, any questions? Yes.
In Vedic culture, it seems that Brahmanas, they would not take a salary, nor would they really get paid, but they would just accept donations. So now, in modern society, it doesn't really work. So
you tried? What does your wife think about that?
I don't know if I'm a Brahmana, but sometimes people criticize, I hear people criticize different persons teaching Vedic sciences and charging a fee. So is it okay for persons of a Brahminic inclination to teach Vedic sciences, maybe not Bhagavad Gita or even Bhagavad Gita, and to ask for money? Is that not Brahminical? It's a serious question.
I know it's a serious question. We don't have Vedic culture these days, in case you've noticed. So you have to do your best. You want to be a Brahmana, have the activities and qualities of a Brahmana, and some other, in this Kali Yuga society, you have to support yourself and your family. So charging people for astrology or this or that or the other, it's better than you're working in McDonald's or something. Reminds me, I was speaking in one temple in the USA at a Sunday feast, Atlanta, the Atlanta Temple, and it was 98% Bharatiya audience, but there were a few of the non-traditionals, I call them, in the audience. So time for questions, and one lady, a non-traditional lady, raised her hand and said, "I've heard that in Vedic culture, women are subordinate. What do you have to say about that?" The whole room was like looking at me. Whoa, how's he going to handle this one? I've heard in Vedic culture, the men are on top, and it's very patriarchal society. What do you have to say about that? Is that the way Vedic culture is? So I paused for a moment and I said to her, "We don't have Vedic culture." Oh! She was so happy. I was sad. So I just said it like that. We don't have Vedic culture. I was lamenting inside, but she rejoiced. Oh, wonderful! I'm so happy. And this way life goes on. Anything else? Yes.
So the question I had was that as a working professional, we know that in today's world, like mostly because of technology being prevalent, it is impersonalism all around. So how do we strengthen our qualities as a devotee and our identity as a devotee amidst an atmosphere like that, especially as a working professional?
We all need to focus on our relations amongst devotees. As you say, things are becoming more automated, mechanical. You haven't seen, social media is just the beginning. Next is coming AI with the bots. The prime purpose for the AI is going to become three things: companionship, sense gratification, and what else? Therapy. So these bots, they give you what you want more than a human being can. They'll give you companionship. They'll give you sense gratification. They'll give you therapy. That's what's coming next. So it's going to become even more impersonal. You're only going to be able to relate to artificial intelligence, the bots. You want to talk to someone, go online. The artificial intelligence can imitate a human being, is better at being a human being than a human being. The artificial intelligence will be the human being that you want, who understands you, who says nice things to you, all the things that husbands don't do. You'll be offered sense gratification, you'll be offered companionship, you need some therapy. Artificial intelligence can do that. So this is what's coming. It's already here, it's just getting worse. So we need to be very mindful of our relationships with devotees. Remember the 6 offenses to devotees. Just like you have the offenses to the holy name, you have deity offenses. We have now Sringakavacha here to make sure the deity worship is up to standard, never-ending effort. But there are also offenses to Vaishnavas. Not greeting a Vaishnava properly, or not being happy to see a Vaishnava. Those are 2 of the offenses. What to speak of being angry at a Vaishnava, being envious, being violent. So more than ever, we need to focus on our devotee relationships. Not just get lost in screens. Of course, so many of you are hearing online lectures and so on and so forth. But don't forget about the face-to-face devotee encounters. Cherish them, value them. Especially in this age as things become more, culture becomes more and more impersonal. Anything else? Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you Maharaj for the wonderful class. Maharaj, you threw some light from a Varna perspective, the expectation that is fair, that we should have more Brahmanas. But can you throw some light from an ashrama perspective? What should be...
From what perspective?
From an ashrama perspective, like what should be the dharma of a grahastha in terms of, money, for example?
Giving it away. Grihastha is supposed to always give charity. In Vedic culture, what does the householder do before eating?
He goes outside and says, anyone is hungry.
3 times. Are you doing that? But at least you can donate to support Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan mission. I always explain, spiritual economics means go to work to give, not to get more material opulence for yourself. Take what you need to live a simple, comfortable life, but then give so that you have bhakti, so that your family has bhakti, and help the rest of the world to have bhakti. Go to work to give. That's spiritual economics. Then you'll be happy no matter what kind of job you do. It's becoming increasingly difficult to find a job that matches your temperament and your abilities. In an ideal world, that would be wonderful. What's the job that fits me? These days, I tell devotees, the job that fits you is the job you can get. If you get a job that matches your nature, that's very good, but don't count on it. So spiritual economics means go to work to give. Give yourself a bhakti lifestyle, give your family a bhakti lifestyle, and also give so that the whole world can have a bhakti lifestyle, bhakti knowledge. So for householders, charity is so important. Lord Ramchandra demonstrated. He gave away everything to the Brahmanas. He gave away all his opulences. Sita Devi gave away everything, except her nose ring. That was the only jewelry she kept. And then what did the Brahmanas do? Upon receiving all that charity from Lord Ramchandra, they gave it all back to him. They said, we don't need any material donation. We're satisfied that you have illuminated our hearts with transcendental knowledge. But still, Ramchandra as a householder gave it. And the Brahmanas, as real Brahmanas, said, we don't need all this. We don't want a material donation. We want illumination in our heart with Divya Gyan. See how the system works? So whatever you can offer to support Lord Chaitanya's movement, you do that. Anything else? She has to ask a question. She makes a sacrifice to come to class before going to school. So we always have to hear her questions.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for the nice class. Maharaj, you were talking about Dharma, Artha, Kama and Moksha, and how these days no one wants to go for Moksha, everyone wants to go for the money. Thinking
No Dharma,
no Dharma. Okay.
just Artha and Kama.
So Maharaj, sometimes we find ourselves in a situation that we may be earning more money.
You're making money now? No. How old are you?
14, but I'm talking about my parents.
When I was 14, I was financially self-sufficient. I'll tell you about it one day.
So sometimes, without even doing any hard work, they sometimes earn more money. So
Without who doing hard work?
my parents.
Oh, yeah. They tell you that? Your mother is here? To make money, yes?
So if the intention behind that extra money is that to use that in Krishna service, is that considered okay? Or
Of course. So you're the accountant for the family? You tell them, is this money going for Krishna's service? What if they say, no, it's to buy you 10 new saris? What are you going to say?
you could buy some jewelry for the lordships.
Very nice. So it's true, when I was 14, I was financially self-sufficient. I complained to my mother, you're not giving me enough money. At that time, my allowance, money, weekly money that my mother and father would give was 50 cents US. That was enough to buy 3 Coca-Colas with 5 cents left over for a candy bar. So I complained to my mother, everyone in my class is getting $1, $2. I'm only getting 50 cents. I had to be very careful. Watch it, 1 Coca-Cola, 2 Coca-Colas, 3, 5 cents left over, candy bar. My mother told me, you want money? Go out and get it. Oh, okay. So I would get up at 4 in the morning and distribute 100 newspapers to houses. And then I would go to school. What do you think? Getting up 4 in the morning was good preparation for a devotee life. 4 in the morning, deliver newspapers to 100 houses, and then go to school. And then in the evening, study. So it's nice that you're mindful of how resources can be used in Krishna's service. Everything belongs to Krishna. So I'm sure your parents are very happy that you have that consciousness. So keep it up. Anything else?
Right.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for the class. Maharaj, my question is like, our mind is talking non-stop, it's not peaceful, and it's appear like spiritual life can't solve it.
Spiritual life what?
Can't solve it.
Can't solve it? Who told you that?
It appears, someone told me that it appears like this because our mind is not peaceful. So how can we deal with the running mind?
Make as your #1 career goal in life quality chanting of Hare Krishna. That's your #1 career goal. So for that, I always say the same thing. You need 2 things to lay the foundation for quality chanting. You need a prime time, sacred time, and you need a sacred place in your residence where you can chant peacefully without disturbance. Time and the place. Maybe it's just one corner in a room. Maybe it's a room in of itself. What is it for you?
One corner in a room.
Huh?
A corner in a room.
Corner in a room. So make sure there are no distractions around you. No mass weapons of distraction. And there, in that corner of the room, is your place. You know, this is where I sit, and I just focus on trying to hear the Hare Krishna mantra. And what about a time? You have a fixed time for chanting?
Morning.
Yes. You get all your rounds done in the morning?
No, half. 8 rounds.
Often it's possible that if you take rest early, you can get up early. It's not a crime. So these things will make all the difference in the world. Of course, working persons have to deal with sudden emergencies, obstacles. So it would happen sometimes that your whole morning is thrown off. But don't make that every morning. Don't let that happen every morning. Try for, let's say, 6 days out of 7, things go according to plan. If one day out of the week, things, you're sick, or this or that or the other, so you can't keep to your normal japa schedule, all right. But your overall goal should be sacred place and sacred time. Hold to that. Understand the material world throws unexpected disturbances your way, but you hold as much as possible to your program of time and place. You'll see the difference. And remember, it's not a crime to take rest early. In Kali Yuga culture, what do they say? The night time is the right time. And in Bhakti culture, what do we say? The night time is the wrong time. The morning is the right time. Early morning. So simple. You apply these simple things, you'll see a major difference. Somehow or other we think we're obligated to stay up late at night. Who told you that? Unless you're out preaching at night, bhakti riksha, mantra 108, something. But that's not every night. So where do we get this idea that it's a crime to take rest at 9 p.m.? Sounds strange, doesn't it? How many of you take rest at 9 p.m. or earlier? 9 p.m. or earlier. Very good. It's possible, right? And then you can get up early. But often, so many devotees come to see me. Oh, I just can't channel my rounds in the morning. What time do you go to sleep at night? Oh, 11 o'clock, midnight. What do you expect? When I say, why don't you try going to sleep? I don't say 9 p.m. because that sounds too radical. I say, how about 10 p.m.? Okay, they say that's practical. I don't see it as practical, 10 p.m., but anyway. 9 p.m. it just seems too much. You have to preach according to time, place, and circumstance. Anything else?
You mentioned about how Mahaprabhu's South Indian Yatra, he came across many people and they all got infected with love of Godhead and they spread it to many different villages and towns. So,
do they come to your town, or you're from Gujarat? You're getting it here. Yes?
So, if there's so much of love of Godhead that was spread in South India, we don't see that so much nowadays.
They all went back to Godhead. And now, the persons there are waiting for you. Of course, you're here doing your service. Waiting for you means in general, waiting for devotees to come and continue Lord Chaitanya's work of liberating South India. It's happening more and more. But you're in Melbourne, so if you can liberate Melbourne, we'll offer our humble obeisances. Nityananda predicted when he saw the kirtan in Alalana, this is going to spread all over the world. So Prabhupada reminds you in the purport, Nityananda wasn't simply talking about India, he was talking about the whole world. He looked and saw what Mahaprabhu was doing and the effect. All the people in Alalana came running to join the kirtan. It went on and on and on. Finally, Lord Nityananda had to end the kirtan, arranged to end the kirtan because everyone was fatigued. So what did they do then? They went to the temple, they closed the door, they sat in the temple and all night long discussed Krishna Katha. That's Mahaprabhu's program. Yes?
Whenever we have association with devotees, we get infected with Krishna consciousness. Can you elaborate, what is it about Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's ecstasy that as soon as devotees saw the way he was infecting others with Krishna consciousness, that he must be the Supreme Personality of Godhead? Would you be able to elaborate on that?
His unparalleled, inconceivable Krishna consciousness. He's the #1 Krishna conscious person. Why?
Because he's in the mood of Radha.
Perfect, very good. You get a special treat this morning. Who is Radharani?
The topmost devotee.
Very good. Yes. Lord Chaitanya is in the role of the #1 Krishna conscious person. She's so Krishna conscious that around her eyes is blackish because she's always staring at Krishna. So anyone who saw such a kirtan would think, this is out of this world. How else? Just like Ramananda Roy, he had his entourage of 1,000 ritualistic brahmanas, stodgy, stiff, know nothing about bhakti. And Ramananda's watching. They're all becoming affected. They're all becoming saturated with love of Krishna. Only the Supreme Personality of Godhead can do this. Only the Supreme Lord can produce such a reaction in these stiff, stodgy, ritualistic brahmanas who know everything Vedic except the conclusion of the Vedas. All right? Last question. Yes.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj, thank you for the class. Maharaj, in Manipur, in like northeastern state of India, they are also,
You're from there?
I'm from Bengal, Maharaj. So they are also following like Vaishnava tradition. Is it preached by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's devotees?
Is what preached?
Like in Manipur, they are also following like Vaishnava tradition. So is it preached by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's devotees?
Is what preached?
Like Vaishnavism. Vaishnavism.
The Vaishnava tradition.
What is Vaishnava tradition is open to a big discussion. Prabhupada gave us the essential Vaishnava traditions. We're trying to hold on to that. This is not the age of classic Vedic traditions. We're giving people the conclusion of the Vedas, which is to chant Hare Krishna, engage in Krishna's service, understand the science of Krishna. So you have to know what is the Vaishnava tradition, what's the core. If we were really applying every aspect of what you might think is Vaishnava tradition, you wouldn't be here. You wouldn't be able to get in the door. But because we are carrying out Lord Chaitanya's mission, therefore the prime characteristic is mercy. That's why we have the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, not the Manipur Society for Krishna Consciousness. Otherwise, what hope would there be for me? And as we pointed out, how many in the audience here, the Bharatiyas, how many came to Australia looking for Krishna? How many came looking for Vaishnava tradition? Anyone? No. Yet we are here because of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sri Nityananda Prabhu, their mercy. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.